Okay! Oh, that came off very hot. Oh! I mean, we may be spending this whole show talking about Pete Alonso. If we have time, we'll also discuss Travis Kelce's future heading into his 5th Super Bowl. A bunch of trades happened in basketball. Wow, this is going to be some show. We'll talk baseball. This is the Early Game Podcast. Listen to the show in the mornings on your commute, whenever and wherever, so you can be a part of today's sports conversations. Let's go. Oh, so my sleeping hours have adjusted because I wake up early to record this podcast, this little ditty, this show. And so I woke up this morning to a lot of texts. What could everybody have possibly been reaching out to me about? What could be so important that my phone was lit up all night? Well, at 10:26 p.m., Jeff Passan tweeted, "Breaking. Slugger Pete Alonso and the New York Mets are in agreement on a free agent contract, sources tell ESPN." Pete Alonso's deal with the New York Mets, which is pending a physical, is for 2 years and includes an opt-out after the first season. He'll make $30 million the first season. In total, Pete Alonso deal is worth it will guarantee him $54 million over 2 years, sources tell ESPN. I'm going to give just a couple seconds here on, yes, this fit makes a ton of sense. Yes. A bat behind Juan Soto in the lineup. Yes. Good. Everything's good. This is the biggest Scott Boras loss he's ever taken in his career. 2 years, $54 million after Pete Alonso turned down 7 years, $158 million 2 years ago. We're talking about 5 less years, and we're talking about $100 million less. This is the biggest L Scott Boras has ever taken in his time being an agent in Major League Baseball. You cannot tell me otherwise. I'd be so curious to know what happened behind these scenes. Did Scott Boras really sign off on this? This is antithetical to anything Scott Boras preaches philosophically about his free agents. He preaches patience, waiting it out. We've seen last season, we saw Matt Chapman, we saw Jordan Montgomery. They signed much later into the offseason. Blake Snell, much later. And so something had to have given here. And this is a turning point for Scott Boras clients. David Stearns and Steve Cohen made Scott Boras look like a clown. I don't want this to be an anti-Pete rant here. He obviously ultimately agreed to this deal. Pete's missteps were not accepting the offer 2 seasons ago when he was offered 7 years, $158 million. That was misstep number 1. Misstep number 2 was likely hiring Scott Boras after that, because he was not the right guy for this negotiation. It was a perfect storm. And David Stearns put on a masterclass. A masterclass. Again, anybody who doubts David Stearns and Steve Cohen, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind. This is going to be a lot of patting myself on the back. This is going to be a lot of Obama medal medal being placed on Obama for whatever prize he got. A lot of memes can be used for what I'm about to do. I told everybody several times on this show, I have it in recording, patience, wait. The Mets signed J.D. Martinez a week before the season started last year. Patience. You need to have patience. It would be dumb for the Mets to negotiate against themselves. And David Stearns and Steve Cohen had patience. They pivoted, whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm not sure who fed that to Andy Martino, said they pivoted and then said they were on the 10-yard line with the Blue Jays. I was the one who said he nixed that deal. You don't think the Blue Jays offered him something better than 2 years, $54 million? I mean, we're talking about instant reaction here. I literally found out about this 20 minutes ago. A half hour ago now. It's 5:31, I see. I woke up at 5, and I saw the news. I had a tweet earlier this offseason, pretty much just when it started, and they were talking a lot about Juan Soto. Most of the news was centered around Juan Soto. And I said, whatever happens with Juan Soto, the Mets will never be out on Pete Alonso. He is more than just trying to fill a roster spot. He is emotional for the fans. I'm sure there's some sort of emotional aspect for Steve Cohen. I said they will never be out on him. And when Andy Martino said they've pivoted to plan B, I laughed and I tweeted, that's just not the case. And I told you all, he did not want to play for the Blue Jays. He would have been a Blue Jay 2 weeks ago if that were the case. He did not want to be a Toronto Blue Jay. Mark Healy, if you're listening, you were wrong. I don't blame Martino. He's being fed information from Boris. He's being fed information from Steve Cohen. I don't blame him. But man, what a saga this was. What a saga. Again, crazy to think that they pulled this off. And it clears way for them to have the leverage next offseason. If they want to sign Vladdy, they still could do it. Unless he decides not to opt out. And even if he doesn't decide to not to opt out, stick Pete at DH and sign Vladdy. Anybody who complained owes David Stearns, owes Steve Cohen. All those who booed David Stearns, boo you! Boo! I cannot believe you had the audacity to boo David Stearns at Amazing Day. I can't believe it. I got made fun of for saying you're ungrateful. You are ungrateful. Steve Cohen spends $800 million on Juan Soto and you go and boo David Stearns. And he ultimately gets it done with Pete Alonso. Boo you! Oh, I'm hot this morning. And so now, man, this Mets team, where do they rank? I don't even know. The lineup is really, really, really solid. It's essentially the same lineup as last year, plus you put Juan Soto in there, and that lineup went to the NLCS. So, I mean, make of that with you what you will. But Carlos Mendoza knows what he's going to be doing with this lineup. Stick Juan Soto right in the middle of there, and you're cooking. Are they going to make one more addition to the rotation? We shall see. They're now comfortably over the luxury tax, which clearly they were okay with. But man, this was insane. 2 years, $54 million. Okay. Let's move on. I was nervous I was going to spend an entire half hour just getting my reaction out, getting my thoughts out, but we've got about 10 minutes here down, and that is not the case. Let's move on to another player who is playing for the 2024 Mets, and that is Harrison Bader. And so he agreed to a one-year deal with the Twins, $6.5 million. It's a nice move for the Twins. They get a center fielder who is, frankly, really, really, I watched him closely last season. Not a guy who's going to give you much offensively, He'll hit home runs here and there. And he will have spurts. He goes on bad slumps, but he is one of the most technically sound defensive players I've ever seen. He does everything fundamentally correct. He gets to every single ball in the right way. Not trying to be fancy ever. And so this is a nice move by the Twins. A nice move. I enjoyed watching him play. I always felt very comfortable having Bader in center field with the Mets. And so it's a nice move. Also, so John Heyman does his 3 o'clock every day appointment watch for Bleacher Report, where he just, I mean, it's great. He just kind of he just takes comments and rattles off answers. And yesterday he said that right now the front runner for Alex Bregman are the Chicago Cubs. I will reiterate my point on the Cubs. I think they are having a tremendously underrated offseason. I'm still upset that they traded Bellinger. I think that they should have kept him, swallow the money, add one more bat to your lineup. But, I mean, if they take Bregman on top of getting Kyle Tucker, I mean, we're really, really cooking here. And the thing that really comes to my mind is Craig Counsell, after a failed first season. Let's see what he can do with a couple of pieces here. Let's see what he can do with Kyle Tucker. If they get Bregman, let's see what he can do with Bregman. He got Ryan Presley. The pitching was really solid last year. They are still set to be in on Dylan Cease. So maybe I'll have to take back my Bellinger take. My Bellinger take was, if you want to complain about the Dodgers, then you can't trade away Cody Bellinger. It's as simple as that. You can't be all in and trade away a Bellinger in what was seemingly a money-saving move. And so, let's see when it's all said and done what the Cubs look like. Again, they're rumored for Dylan Cease. They're rumored for Bregman. If they get both of those guys, we're talking about a team that actually will be competitive with the top teams in the NL. And I just want to say them out loud because now the Mets are up there now. So it's the Mets, Dodgers, Phillies, Braves. And so the question is, can the Cubs get their way up there? Can they make their way up there? With those two guys, I think we are talking about a top team in the National League. Add one more starting pitcher, one more bat to your lineup. I still am upset that they lost out on Bellinger, but we'll complain about that another time. Okay. Whew, a lot of baseball today. If you thought there was a lot of baseball, then what a day it was in the NBA. We are now talking about, I think, in recent memory, someone can correct me in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but the craziest NBA trade deadline we have ever seen. I don't think that's hyperbole. So I'm not even sure where to start. I'm going to go headline based here, not even timeline chronologically, because we had some moves earlier in the day, but the day was headlined by this tweet from Shams. Breaking, the Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and to protect the first-round pick, sources tell ESPN. Now, it was kind of wild. There was basically just like a game of musical chairs here. The Heat did not keep. I mean, I'm going to take you through the tweets of Shams, and you can make what you want out of it. So first he said that that Jimmy Butler and the Warriors agreed on a 2-year, $121 million extension. Okay. I mean, wild that he's going to be making $60 million a year. He also said Dennis Schroeder is headed to Utah and Kyle Anderson to Toronto as a part of the multi-team trade, sources said. And then he also added another player headed to Miami in this deal via Utah is PJ Tucker, and he returns to the Heat. So, again, a big game of musical chairs here. Now the Kyle Anderson trade with the Raptors fell through. But let's just go back to so again, a crazy game of musical chairs. A lot of players being shuffled around in that one deal, and there was more than that yesterday, but just in that one deal. But we have completed the saga that, again, I said this yesterday, but the Jimmy Butler saga spans back to the first episode of Early Game. It was one of the first big stories I covered. And now we finally have a resolution on where Jimmy Butler is going to be playing. At least he is under contract for the next 2 seasons. I've spoken about this. What team is dumb enough to trade for Jimmy Butler after all he has done with Miami and all he has done in the past with every other team he's played for? And I'm shocked that it's the Warriors that ended up doing it. If the Suns traded for Jimmy Butler, it would not have been surprising. There's a little scent of dysfunction in Phoenix. The Warriors, though, have always been a classy organization. Besides for all the Draymond Green stuff, which I think they handle internally relatively well. Maybe that's their idea. Their idea is we can handle Draymond. We'll be able to handle Jimmy Butler too. Now, the other part I find interesting about this is just a couple of weeks ago, Steph, Draymond, and Steve Kerr all said they do not want the team sacrificing the future in order to win today. In order to win this year, in order to give it another effort with this core. So you can make the argument it's only one first-round pick. So they were able to swallow it. And that's probably right. But deep down, these guys clearly feel like, A, they have a chance with the core that they have. B, Jimmy Butler helps them accomplish they believe in Jimmy Butler helping them accomplish what they think they can accomplish. And C, they didn't really mean it. If they really meant it, they wouldn't have even given up the one pick. And so now, again, the West is just stacking up here. They're adding talent. Not much going on in the East. And today's the deadline, so we'll probably have a couple more moves to speak about tomorrow. Not much going on in the East. But in the West, players are being added. Teams feel like they can get back into it. Now, the Warriors are the 10 seed in the West. So they're currently slotted in for a play-in. Will they be able to move up in the standings? That wasn't the only move yesterday. Yesterday morning, Shams tweeted that the Milwaukee Bucks are trading Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a pick swap to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and second-round draft compensation. I mean, the question to me is, for the Bucks, is this enough? Adding Kuzma to Dame, to Giannis, is that enough to climb your way back into what is a competitive Eastern Conference? The Cavs are not going away. The Celtics have been great. The Knicks are going to get Mitch Robinson back. Seemingly that's going to be their trade deadline acquisition. So the Bucks are going to be playing in a very competitive Eastern Conference. Does this do it for them? Switching out Middleton for Kuzma. And by the way, Middleton now goes to rot in Washington. But I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it can't hurt. You didn't trade away any future assets. The other move yesterday was Jonas Valančiūnas was traded to the Kings from Washington. Frankly, I wanted him on the Knicks. And this is for a 2028 and 2029 second-round pick both a 2020 and a 2029 second-round pick. And so they get a big man. They just traded Darren Fox. They got Zach LaVine. But they're trying to retool. And again, this Western Conference, teams clearly feel, the fringe teams feel like this conference is wide open. They don't buy into the Thunder. They don't buy into the Rockets. They don't buy into the Lakers. I mean, you should buy into the Lakers now. But maybe you're just saying the Lakers are the team to beat, and there's room, and let's play them in a 7-game series. Let's see what happens there. But there's clearly this feeling among Western Conference teams that there is wiggle room here in the Western Conference. You can go out there and you can win. Okay, let's move on. We've got a couple of things here to talk about the NFL. I wanted to continue our Super Bowl coverage. Again, today, I'm going to talk about Travis Kelce, his future. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the actual game. And we're going to give a pick, call it a day. Wrap it up. And then Monday, we'll have Super Bowl coverage. That'll be the last of this NFL season, and we'll look forward to the next NFL season. First, I just want to say, give another story first before we talk about Kelce. I'll speak about Kelce last. So the Rams, it was announced yesterday that they're going to be playing a game in 2026 in Melbourne, Australia. I mean, I'm just having a hard time understanding how this will work. They're 19 hours ahead, so I guess it'll be like a 6 o'clock game in Los Angeles. Will be a 1 o'clock game in Australia, p.m., the next day, and then that'll be a 9 p.m. game on the East Coast. My question is, are these games really worth it? Can we see some data that these international games work, that they bring fans? The LA Rams don't draw in Los Angeles. So do you think that they're going to draw in Melbourne, Australia? I want to see some sort of number here. I want Goodell to give us some sort of data point, some analysis that these international games are worth it. That it's worth it for me to have to stay up late to watch these stupid games. Or wake up early. But that'll be the first time an NFL team plays in Australia. Okay, now on to Kelce. Ever since Jason Kelce retired and all those rumors, that's been pretty much a tandem along with asking whether Travis Kelce will retire too. He's 35 years old, and it's always kind of been discussed, is this going to be it for Travis Kelce? The last couple of years after the Super Bowl, is this going to be it for Travis Kelce? This is 12th year in the league. It's not like he's been... So, 12 years, it's a great amount of years. It's a long period of time. But he got into the league, like, if we're relatively late at 23. And he's 35. And if he wins the Super Bowl this year, what more does he really need to accomplish? Does he want to try to go win a 4th in a row? Does he want to go help his buddy Patrick Mahomes another couple of years? Or does he want to ride away into the sunset? Does he want to move in with Taylor Swift full-time in LA? Get married and live a happy life with only the current amount of CTE that he has? We're talking about one of the greatest tight ends to ever do it. And so I think more about, look, Travis Kelce didn't have a great year this year. One of his lesser years. And so is he going to want to go out on top? Is he going to want to, go to the point where we're going to have to talk about putting down a dead horse? Or is he going to want to say, I want to go out on my own terms, on a high, if they win the Super Bowl, after winning a Super Bowl? And so questions are going to swirl after the Super Bowl. I think win or lose, we are going to be wondering what is going to be with Travis Kelce. Is his time in the NFL up? Is it time for the next Mahomes era? And frankly, yes. If Travis Kelce retires, this isn't me saying that the Chiefs dynasty is over, but it's me saying they're going to have to figure out a new era of Chiefs football. They just will. No more Tyreek Hill. No more Travis Kelce. They're going to have to figure out a way forward without him. And I wonder, the Bills, I think about the Bills and they had such turnover this year. And so there's going to be precedent for Patrick Mahomes to say and be confident, hey, look, let me do what Josh just did. Move on without the pieces that I had for so long. And by the way, it's not like Andy Reid's getting any younger. We spoke about that yesterday. And so we really might soon be looking at a brand new era for Patrick Mahomes, who's only 29 now. We may be looking at truly a different era of Chiefs football. But I think that one of the big storylines, win or lose, that happens after this Super Bowl is, what is Travis Kelce's future? And I think, frankly, the smart thing for him to do would be to retire this season. After this season, retire. Get married. Do not go down a downward trajectory of your career. Don't go out on a bad note. Call it a day. You'll be hired by any broadcast studio you want, and that'll be it. Okay, that's a show. Tomorrow we'll give a full preview of the Super Bowl. This is the Early Game Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed, like and comment, follow on Spotify, follow on Twitter, follow on X. Have a wonderful day.